So my name is Martin Spoelstra. I'm the pastor here at Discovery Church, and we are currently located in Bowmanville, Ontario, and we're sharing a space with a sister church in the CRC, Maranatha, and we're on a journey for about 16 years together as a church. I planted this church here. I'm married. I got 4 kids, 3 of whom are married, and I have 4 grandchildren. I originally was planning to become a youth pastor, and I did youth ministry, and I worked with young offenders in the jail, and felt called to go to youth ministry. Went to Bible college, got a bachelor's degree in youth ministry, and then was working in youth ministry in Michigan and decided to go to Calvin Seminary to take their 2-year MA program. The last course that I took was an elective. I needed an elective, and it was in church planting. And I was like, well, yeah, it kind of sounds interesting. So I took this course in church planting, and it just like opened up a whole world to me that I never knew was possible. Because I was finishing with an MA and not an MDiv, church planting also opened up a door for ministry in a solo environment, which wasn't available to me as an MDiv. And so as a commissioned pastor in the CRC, it allowed me to think about church planting as an option. That was the first thing that kind of intrigued me, but the more and more that I thought about it and the longer the class went on, what I realized was a lot of the things that I was doing in youth ministry, which was starting new things. I developed 2 new youth ministries up from the ground. There was a lot of overlap in the kind of ministry that I was doing evangelistically and discipleship-wise that could easily be translated into church planting. And the idea of doing a church plant just really kind of blossomed. But I had a real struggle at the end of that course because I was offered my dream job in youth ministry. I'd been in youth ministry for 10 years already by then, had done youth ministry in 2 different church settings, and finished seminary and was offered a job in Kitchener in a 1,000-member congregation with staff and a full-time just youth ministry position, which was unheard of, and at the same time was exploring the idea of church planting. And so I got offered this job to take on this youth pastor position and delayed the confirmation of the position with them. I asked them for another 2 weeks, so it was 4 weeks to decide. And that discernment process for me was a bit of a wrestle through, because here I was looking at what I thought would have been the perfect placement, and yet was struggling with, do I go into church planting? Should I put my efforts over into that direction? And eventually I believe that God called me in that direction. So then church planting became my sole focus away from youth ministry. So the discernment process to do actual church planting was not as difficult as I thought it might be. I was in a pretty bad place right before I left with the church that I was at. And when I started thinking about youth ministry again, I was excited about a different position. But going into church planting really excited me more than anything. I just really felt a strong, powerful pull towards it, believing that God was just kind of saying, this is the door that's been opened for you. You could choose either door and still serve, but where do you feel the most excited and most drawn? And it was really the excitement that was of going into church planting that drew me through that door, even in the face of all of the unknowns, right? My family, we had 4 kids at the time. We didn't know if it would be in the U.S. or in Canada. We applied for both positions in both countries, and we'd already been homeschooling our kids, so that made it a little easier to move. So that was one consideration that we didn't have to make. But it was really just being drawn by the excitement of the adventure to do church planting. The step of faith for us as a family was going into something completely unknown. And just feeling a sense of excitement is not enough to do something, right? You've got to be sure that this is what God is calling you to. So I said to my wife, AJ, I said, look, we both got to feel like this is a calling of ours, not just mine. And she began the process with me of prayer and discernment. And I talked to a few friends about it, especially at seminary, and asked for some wisdom about what to do. And that first step of applying for the position out here in Bowmanville. I'm from Hamilton originally, so I'm Canadian. But being in the U.S. and my wife is American, left a very wide opportunity. Coming to Bowmanville meant selling our house, and we kind of put up a fleece with the Lord, said, look, if we can sell our house, God will move to Canada. But if we can't sell our house, there's no way that we can afford to carry two mortgages while we do this. And it sold very quickly. So it wasn't just another step in the confirmation process, the step of faith in that. Going into the unknown doesn't scare me. I'm less risk. I was less risk averse then than I am now. I'm a little bit more cautious. Chalk that up to the stupidity of youth. But I enjoyed the challenge of going into something brand new, and it was just really exciting for me to do that.